Manchester City wins the league. Tottenham continues their free fall. Bobby Firmino's storybook ending. Arsenal bottle the title. And Chelsea lose to Manchester City's B team. Football fans far and wide, welcome to the Football v Football podcast. This is the Game Week 37 reaction show. We're going to try something a little bit different on this one. We're going to go to the box score here. We're going to look at some of the stats, the man of the match, the lineups, and then analyze some of the pictures as well. So let's go ahead and see if this works here. Beautiful. So the first game of the day was Brentford beating Tottenham 3-1. Embuemo, in the absence of Ivan Toney here, really stepped up. Him and Yohan Wissa and did the bulk of the scoring here. And Buemo also with a goal, Wissa also with an assist. You know, Harry Kane did a little bit. He does a little bit every game. And Kulusevski, I mean, this is a guy that I was really high on last year. Tall Swedish guy. He's tremendous on crosses and things like that. But as I mentioned at the outset here, Tottenham with a huge free fall. I thought at the beginning of the year this team could have been primed to win the Premier League, and they've really fallen off this year. So Embuemo, as I mentioned, the man of the match in the absence of Tony, who I think is suspended for 8 months. So we won't see him for a while. He was suspended for gambling. As we look at just the lineup here, Rico Henry with a yellow, otherwise pretty clean for Brentford. Basuma with a yellow for Tottenham. Other than that, pretty clean for this team, for Tottenham. And then looking at the stats here, Tottenham really dominated most of these stats. 61% possession, 8 shots on target to Brentford's 4. Doubled up Brentford on total shots, 22-11. Man, Tottenham really dominated this game. Brentford had 20 clearances. I guess that's really all you need when you're kind of rebuffing the Tottenham attack. Tottenham 8 corners as well. And other than that, 1 offsides only for each team, one yellow card for each team. I'm a huge fan of David Raya. I know I've said this a lot on this podcast, but I think he's a tremendous goalie. Even though he's not as lengthy as De Gea, I think he is the better Spanish goalkeeper. I think he's a real athlete, this guy. The way he jumps to get to balls, and I think he'd be a tremendous wide receiver in the NFL, to be honest with you. So that's kind of the story of this game. And now the next thing I want to do here, a new kind of segment that maybe would more cater to people watching on YouTube, is the picture analysis here. So we're on the English Premier League page, and that's where we will analyze the games here. So the first one here is Lucas Moura crying. It looks like we're going to see this in other games as well. This was the final game, home game for a lot of players that their clubs are just not going to sign them and retain them anymore. So Lucas Moura, it looks like this is his last game with the club. In the picture here, he's very teary-eyed and bidding farewell to the Tottenham fans. Richarlison, and the next one here, emotional as always. This guy is, this is very indicative of many Brazilian players. They play a very emotional style. This guy is also very petulant. I'm not a huge fan of his. I mean, sometimes what he does, sometimes his passion for the game is good. Of course, he had that great goal in the World Cup, but oftentimes he has trouble managing it. So that's my issue with Richarlison. This is a great shot of him though. And Wissa here with the Brentford in the background here. He had a goal and an assist in this game. Again, in the absence of Tony, Mbuemo and Wissa really took over this game. Wissa actually, his stats with my baggy metrics and FPL have always shown Wissa actually to be a great player, and they don't give him enough playing time. But it's good to see him now. Like I said, with Tony out, Wissa's getting more chances, and he's playing well. Um, Next shot here, you got Richarlison and Moore in the picture, and they look dejected. These poor guys, they are big parts of the downfall of this team. To be honest with you, Richarlison arguing with management in terms of wanting to take Son's position essentially as a striker. I put a lot of the blame on him for a lot of the disharmony on this team. Next shot here was Wissa. I believe this might have been a penalty they made. Great shot here. He's a great player. And Lucas Moura, man, there is a real focus on Lucas Moura in this photo collage. I didn't see much of him this year. Moore is kind of a guy that was a guy of the past on this team. I mean, I remember he had that tremendous header goal. I think was that when they were playing Liverpool in the Champions League or one of the big games. But this is a guy that I have disregarded for the past 2 years. But he really shone, in years past, maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago. And Buemo again with the Brentford crowd. What a player this guy is. Again, he is the number one guy that benefits from Ivan Toney not being in this lineup. And those Brentford Bees fans are completely hyped. Again here, him and I believe that's Norgard. Maybe not Norgard. But this is kind of a diagonal photo. This is really cool. This is a really great shot here. And more photos of Mbuemo celebrating. And Thomas Frank. Wow, what a manager. I mean, this is a guy that I associated with the bottom of the league when I saw him because this team came up maybe a couple of years ago. But he's done a tremendous job, and he has tremendous players, to be honest. Heung-min Son here, looking a bit confused. Again, this is a guy that really had a really slow start to the season. Started to pick it up later, but then these issues between him and Richarlison just kind of probably ruined the chemistry on this team. Again, Thomas Frank, what a guy. Danjuma, this is a guy that I don't know about don't know much about for Tottenham, but I think he's an up and coming player for them. And contesting here a a header between I believe Wissa and another player on Tottenham. I'm not sure. And here's Harry Kane's goal. He is the lone bright spot of this team. He seems to score every game for this team. He's also the highest scoring player in FPL as the regular season concluded, which is shocking given the fact that Haaland is in this league. This is a shot of Harry Kane's goal. It looks like it might have been off a free kick there. Celebrations. And contesting. And this is Harry Kane before the match here and the warm-ups for Tottenham, and an incredible mural here. Spurs all-time record goal scorer Harry Kane. Harry, he's one of our own, and this is beautiful. I mean, this Tottenham stadium looks absolutely beautiful. The hot toddy. So that was the Tottenham Brentford game. So next up, we're going to look at Manchester United defeating Bournemouth 1-0. Manchester United last year had a really disappointing year. It looks like they're going to qualify for the Champions League this year at the expense of Liverpool, unfortunately. Luke Shaw here, the man of the match. But Casemiro was the only guy that scored in this game. He scored early in the 9th minute. No other goals after that. You can take a look at the lineup here. De Gea, hot and cold. Today, this game he was more hot than cold. Just one yellow card here for Lewis Cook. Um, Solanke again, in the absence of Tavernier, did not put a goal in. This is something I've been harping on for this team. Without Tavernier, they're just a terrible team, and thank God they collected all those points early on. The stats for this game, of course, uh, um, tell the story that Manchester United was the better team. 58% possession, one more shot on target, but 10 more total shots on goal, better with touches and passes, many more tackles. Um, Bournemouth with more clearances, but Manchester United got more of the corners here. Um, Other than that, yeah, pretty even overall. But it was that Casemiro goal. Casemiro, not a guy that's known for scoring goals, to be honest with you. Doesn't put a lot of shots on target. But as we go to the match photos to analyze some of them, of course, this is De Gea, probably on a set piece here with five of his men in the box, kind of guiding traffic. Um, and then Casemiro here. I don't think that I've ever seen Manchester United wearing this lime green kit. This is very unique here. But Casemiro looking determined with the ball here, going past two defenders. And then after he scored the goal here, celebrating with Sancho. And again, a celebration of Casemiro. This guy looks berserk while he's celebrating. And again with Bruno, big buck teeth Bruno, in the celebration as well. And it looks like it was a half bicycle kick that scored the goal in this by Casemiro. That looks really nice. Dominic Solanke here in this next photo here. Again, a guy that gets dispossessed constantly. He does put a lot of shots on target, but just doesn't have that precision to finish when there aren't guys like Tavernier or Dango Watara to give him the space. And a lot of times it's just cleanups for him. Eric Ten Hag here with a very determined look, a very close-up look at Eric Ten Hag. He's done a great job. I mean, people can talk about what happened before the World Cup break with Ronaldo. Was it right, the right move, the wrong move? Well, it looks like they're going to finish in the Champions League, albeit in fourth. I think that's a solid result for them. And then there's some warm-ups before the match. But that was this one. That was Manchester United. They kind of just got it done against the Bournemouth team that was, again, without Tavernier and Watara. They're not giving him much playing time anymore. So next game up here, Fulham and Crystal Palace tying 2-2, drawing 2-2. Alexander Mitrovic, man, this guy, he's the man. He was the man of the match, and if I'm not mistaken, since he's arrived back from suspension, he has 3 shots on target and 3 goals. All of them, all 3 shots were all goals. And in the first game, he only came on for the last 25 minutes. And this one, I think he played a full 90. I play Fantasy Premier League, as I mentioned, as I think many of you do if you're listening to this. And I was hesitant to start him because a lot of times, depending on where you are in the world, you want to set your lineup before you go to bed because a lot of these games start early. I had kept him on my bench. We have a thing in Fantrax called Auto Sub where you can still get his points, but he's not in the starting lineup. So I messed up leaving him on my bench because he got a couple goals. I thought they were going to work him back in, but it was just one single game where they brought him on um, in the last 20-25 minutes, and he played this whole game, and he had a tremendous impact. One goal at the end of the first half, and then which was a penalty, and then at the beginning of the second half with a Willian assist. And for Crystal Palace, Odsonne-Edouard and Joel Ward. Joel Ward, not a guy that you expect to score goals here, but Joel Ward had one in the 83rd. Edouard, he is one of those the 5 or 6 strikers they have on this team that just pick a number out of pick a name out of a hat. Zaha, Ayu, Odsonne-Edouard, whatever. He's one of those guys, and he scored in the 34th. And Eberechi Eze, who seems to be on fire this past month, had the assist there. As you take a look at the lineup here, couple yellow cards for Fulham, Tosin and Anthony Robinson. I'm a big fan of Anthony Robinson, but yeah, some games, yeah, I guess he's just not as involved as I'd like him to be. Joao Paulinho, also with a yellow here. Crystal Palace kept it clean, no yellows for them. And as far as the stats go here, pretty split. Crystal Palace, just 50.5% possession, 5 shots on target. Um, both teams had 11 shots total on goal. Touches and passes, Crystal Palace was a little bit more precise. Um, Fulham 16 tackles, more than Crystal Palace at 12. Um, any other discrepancies here? 7 corners for Fulham. And other than that, pretty even. Yeah, more yellow cards for Fulham there. No yellow cards for Crystal Palace. Um, but we'll go back and we'll check the photos, the match photos of this game. The first one here is Joel Ward, surprisingly scoring a goal here in the 83rd minute. He's a defender, so it's not common for him to score. And in the back, there's the that guy Solomon, the guy that I don't like with a sour face. Good. And then the next photo here, you got Mitrovic, uh, with his celebration. He likes to put both fingers up like this. That's his standard celebration. And then the other one here, he looks like a lunatic. This guy actually, he is what in Arabic we call him asab. This guy is really constantly. I mean, there's a reason why this guy made contact with an official, got a red card, was banned for 8 games. He's a mean guy. He just looks like a mean looking guy, and that helps some parts of his game, but sometimes he's a little unhinged, and that's what he looks like in this photo here. And then there's another one of Mitrovic here with the header in a sea of people, and some surprised looks on on defenders' faces and his own teammates' faces. Um, and then the Mitrovic penalty here that he buried. He's very good at burying those. And a surprised Crystal Palace audience in the background there. Next one, my guy Anthony Robinson with a cross here. I think this guy's a tremendous defender. I love how active this guy is in terms of feeding. Now Mitrovic, he just kind of feeds balls. He kind of goes up and down the line, very active. And he was the guy that when Mitrovic was out, was the guy that had to take matters into his own hands and was just taking shots on goal. This is before Vinicius hit his stride and started scoring in like 3 out of 4 games. And then Odson Edward here flexing after he scored a goal, and you got, I think it might be Tim Ream just sitting on the floor dejected. Um, Great goal here by Odson Edward. And this is Elise here. Elise didn't show up on either assist or a goal, but this guy's a master on free kicks. He's a really underrated player. So that tells the story of this one. As we'll move now to Wolves and Everton drawing 1-1. It was Hee Chan, the Korean, I believe, that scored for Wolves here in the 34th minute, and then at the very last second, Yerry Mina via a Michael Keane assist here in the 90th plus 9th minute, and so the very last minute of stoppage time, just breaking the Wolves' hearts. And I saw some of these photos before, and you'll see the look on some of these Wolves fans' faces. It was it's quite the sight. And Everton is fighting against relegation, so this was a huge point for them. Man of the match, of course, Yerry Mina, the defender. Both of these are the defenders. Michael Keane and Yerry Mina, both defenders, that got this done at the very last minute. It says something about these Everton strikers, that the defenders had to take it into their own hands. But as far as cards go, plenty of cards on the Wolf side. Craig Dawson, Nelson Semedo, Ruben Neves, Adama Traore, all carded up. On the Everton side, It was just James Garner. James Garner? There's a guy named James Garner on this team. That's a famous actor as well. In terms of the match stats, the tail of the tape here. Possession was pretty even. Wolves just a little bit more, 53%. Um, Everton were the more aggressive team in terms of total shots. They were just not very accurate. 19 shots for Everton to 13 for Wolves. Everton more aggressive team, 19 tackles to Wolves 12. But the clearances for wow, the discrepancy in clearances is crazy here. Wolves 28 clearances to Everton's 5, and then everything else here. Everton 7 corners to Wolves 1, and fouls conceded. 18 fouls by Wolves compared to 10 by Everton. So yeah, I guess it the tail of this match stat sheet here makes it look like Everton was the more aggressive team, and Wolves had to clear the ball a lot, had to commit a lot of fouls. So that was the story of this game. Um, as we go now and look at some of the photos, there's Yerry Mina after scoring a goal, a defender's moment after scoring a goal, gotta be sweet. And those are the Everton fans. There's somehow a shoe. I don't know whose shoe that is in the picture. That makes no sense. It looks like a guy hugging his father, maybe, and then there's he had his arm around him, and then there's also just a random shoe under his hand. So I don't know if a guy like jumped in there and now his head is like on the floor or what's going on, but what a shot that is. Everton fans trying to stay up here for not be relegated for the first time in their history. They've been in the Premier League since '92, I believe, since the founding of the Premier League, and they have some good players, but like this in this photo, Iwobi, I think he's a tremendous player. Tarkowski, a good player as well. And this is the photo here with the dejected Wolves fans in the background because they thought they had this one. They really, really thought they had this one. They had this game for 99 minutes, and then a defender scores. Here's a photo that encapsulates really Dominic Calvert-Lewin's whole career, which is injuries. This is him with the physio on the ground, injured again. It just kind of tells the story of his career. And here is Hee-chan after he scored his goal. He's kind of a good clinical player. Yerry Mina getting tackled here, showing a face of distress. Um, and then we got Calvert-Lewin here. Um, he's a great finesse player while he's there, but he's just so often injured, and that's the issue. And then Ruben Neves defending him with his hands behind his back like a good defender, even though he's a midfielder. And then here, I believe that's Daniel Podence and the Everton player. This is just kind of a stock photo, but yeah, that's the story of this game here. 1-1 draw. Um, like I said, Everton just trying not to get relegated. They're going to keep trying here. Everton is one of the big clubs, and then also we're going to talk about this later, but Leicester as well, trying to avoid relegation. I think these are three teams that we've become really accustomed to being in the Premier League. So Everton is absolutely one of them. But we'll move on now to West Ham defeating Leeds 3-1. West Ham is a team that when they when they get on it and want to score goals, they score a lot of goals. They score a lot of goals, and this is a team that now is, I believe, in the Europa finals. It must be the finals at this point. Um, and So in Europe, they're doing very, very well, and now in the Premier League, after a very, very slow start, they're starting to pick it up, and they put 3 goals here in on Leeds, who is just hopelessly also kind of toiling in the bottom of the league here. This team with a lot of Americans. In this one, Declan Rice, Jared Bowen, Lanzini all got goals. Bowen also got an assist. Ings got an assist, and Baqueta an assist as well. And on the lead side, it was Rodrigo with the goal in the 17th minute, and Weston McKennie with the assist as well. And man of the match here is Jared Bowen, who is one of my favorite players, to be honest with you. Very, very active player. Plays above his skill level, and so I'm a big fan of this guy. As we look at the lineup here, um, Paqueta got a yellow for West Ham, and then for um, Leeds, 3 yellows. Um, Koch, Koch, I think they call him, Rodrigo, and Somerville, all with yellow cards here. As we look at the statistics, West Ham had looks like they dominated this whole game essentially. 85% possession, 9 shots on target, 19 shots on goal to Leeds 12. More touches, more passes. Only thing Leeds has better than them is tackles, 23 tackles to West Ham's 11, and everything else. West Ham had more corners, um, less fouls conceded, so they pretty much dominated this game. As we look at the photos of this game, the tail via photos, this is Lanzini here celebrating his goal with Declan Rice. We have Jared Bowen here. Looks like he's picking his nose, or almost picking his nose. Good job, photographer, not catching him picking his nose. We got Declan Rice here, who actually it looks like he stepped up his ability to um, score goals this year. He was more much. This guy never put shots on target, as far as I know. And this year, this is something that's kind of new to his game. He's been scoring more goals here. Um, it looks like Robles is in goal for Leeds. I didn't realize that. I thought Melier was their keeper. Maybe he got injured in this game. And here we have Rodrigo celebrating their lone goal. This guy is I think he's one of the guys that will probably be picked up from Leeds and pushed into a Premier League team if Leeds gets relegated. Some other guys, Bamford, I think, will also be picked up. And some of these American players, Weston McKennie was a star, I believe, coming from Juventus, and um, that was a big splash move. So if he was go to England's second division here, that would be a huge dip in his career. So he's another guy that I will not stay at Leeds long if they get relegated. And that's the story of this game through photos. Domination, pure domination by West Ham over Leeds. Leeds, I think they're going to get relegated. Southampton and Leeds are the two teams that just haven't looked good all year. And even after the firing of Jesse Marsh from Leeds, I didn't think he should have been fired, to be honest with you. I think it's a team of all Americans. He's an American coach. I think he was speaking to them, and he was going to find his way out of the malaise that they were in. But as it stands now, it looks like they're going to be dropping and joined by either Leicester or Everton. Next game here we're going to talk about is Brighton defeating the team we just talked about, Southampton. Brighton won this one 3-1. Evan Ferguson with a brace. This is a guy that's really up and coming. He has had some inconsistency in the league, but when he's good, he's really good. And he's like a young Irish player. He had a brace here. Pascal Gross got the third goal for them, and then the assist came from McAllister, Matoma, and Cole Will. So a lot of people got in on the attack here. What can you expect against Southampton? The only goal that Southampton got was from Hamid El-Younisi, and it was assisted by James Ward-Prowse, who is a guy I know that's been Southampton through and through, but really, really hope a team like Liverpool plucks him so he can stay in the Premier League. I think that would be a tremendous signing for them. And the man of the match here, Alexis McAllister, the captain of the team. I mean, I don't know how it's not Evan Ferguson, but that's what it has here on the Premier League site. So it looks like this game was littered with yellow cards. For Brighton, we have Veltman got a yellow. Facundo Bonate got a yellow. He's Argentinian. That sounds like an Italian name. For West Ham, James Bree, Bednarik, both got yellows. They're both defenders. And then 3 yellow cards in their midfield. James Ward-Prowse, El-Younisi, and Carlos Alcaraz, who I thought was a good player. but he's really fallen off. I thought he was going to bring a spark to this team, but he's really kind of fallen off. He's better suited for tennis, if you know what I mean. Um, and as far as the stats go in this one, Brighton dominated. I mean, the stats will tell you the story. It seems like that's the trend we're noticing here. Possession 63%, 8 shots on target to Southampton's 1, single shot on target. So Unicy, good job for you. He took the only shot on target and scored it. And then wow, shots towards goal, 26 for Brighton and 5 for Southampton. That is quite the discrepancy. Um, Tackles and clearances, Southampton had more, obviously, because they were just trying to stifle the attack from Brighton, and everything else fairly even. So as we move to the photos of this one, I bet it's a lot of celebration from Brighton. And we have here Lewis Dunk celebrating with Estupinian and Coldwell. Um, and Evan Ferguson here celebrating with McAllister, with Matoma in the background. Here's Matoma and Theo Walcott fighting for a ball. Matoma, something I notice about Matoma that I'm not a huge fan of. He reminds me of he does something that another player does that I was just watching, which is he holds the ball for two. He has tremendous possession. He's great at evading but he holds the ball like a little bit too late. He doesn't pass when there's a he feels himself too much. He doesn't pass when there's a very clear open guy before he gets the ball dispossessed from him. Pretty often, pretty often. There's another guy that does that as well. That I forget who it was, but I think he played on. He might have been on the Monday game. James Madison. James Madison is another guy that plays like kind of like Matoma. Tremendous position, tremendous power, but holds the ball a little bit too long sometimes. And that was the story of this one. Real quick, Brighton and Hove Albion defeat Southampton. This is a team that I thought could have had a chance to make the Champions League, but I'm not a fan of their manager and what he did with Solly March down the stretch here. The fact that he lost total confidence in him after he missed that penalty against Manchester United, put him on the bench for 3 straight games, only let him play a little bit, and then in that one game where he wasn't warmed up, they brought him in against Everton, ended up pulling his hamstring and finishing the season for him. Of course, they got the results here. It's easy to do against Southampton, but they dropped points in a few other games that Solly March has been out, and I think it's the manager's fault. So I'm not a big fan of the manager there. But that's the story of this game. Next game we're going to look at here is Newcastle and Leicester, who were seemingly playing for this draw. That's what all the outlets were talking about. That Newcastle only needed a point to clinch Champions League play, which they have. Congratulations to Newcastle, the new Saudi juggernauts that are going to no doubt sign a lot more great players in this offseason. So congrats to them. They were trying to score all game. I mean, this was this was an onslaught by Newcastle, and I'm sure we're going to see it in the statistics here. But the man of the match here was Kieran Trippier, and he did create a lot of chances. So did Fabian Schär. If you play FPL, Fabian Schär had an even better game than Trippier in a lot of ways. But Trippier is more kind of on the attack, and then Schär does a little bit of the attack, but most of the defensive work. So there were no goals in this one. As far as yellow cards, Bruno Guimaraes. Okay, so if you saw this one, you know that he could have gotten a red card very early in this game. He went in studs toward a Everton player's leg and could have broken it if it had enough force. And then Alexander Isak is kind of I mean, what they gave him a yellow on was kind of cheap. He struggled in this game. He had issues. Isak. He's usually a great player, but he struggled in this one. On the Leicester side here, no goals for them, no yellow cards for them. A ho-hum game for them, really. I mean, Vardy is he's really out of gas. Like Vardy is one of those guys that is okay. Let me describe him. He's not like a Ferrari, but he is whatever that overachieving car is. That just like I don't know, maybe like you like soup up a car that's like maybe like a Corolla or a Civic or something like that, and then it just like runs like amazingly well and like overperforms, and then like eventually when it just gets like really old, it starts sputtering, like toward the end. That's what's happening to Jamie Vardy. He is a formerly very, I mean, a legend that overperformed his entire career at Leicester. That is now just kind of, he shows flashes sometimes, but he just seems like he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. And if Leicester end up getting relegated, I wouldn't be surprised if Vardy retires. To be honest with you. So as we look at the tail of the tape here, the statistics. Newcastle, of course, dominated possession in this one. It was 77% to Newcastle, and it seemed like if you watch this game, it was even more than that. Shots on target 4-1 for Newcastle, and even bigger discrepancy here. Total shots 23 for Newcastle, only one for Leicester, and the touches I mean, wow, touches on this one 877 touches for Newcastle to only 360 for Leicester, and then passes 702 for Newcastle to 209 for Leicester. Of course, the defensive statistics they belong to Leicester because they needed them. 17 tackles to Newcastle 6, and 45 clearances for Leicester to Newcastle's 9. 12 corners for Newcastle, and I remember almost every single one of them from Kieran Trippier, and they just couldn't something they just couldn't connect on them. I got to give a lot of credit to the Leicester City defense because they were just kind of they were heading away everything and getting everything away, and uh, Newcastle did have a couple really good chances that hit the bar. I think two or three chances. Callum Wilson, I think, had one that hit the bar. Bruno Guimaraes had one that hit the bar that is inexplicable. Inexplicable. Um, so, yeah, a little unlucky for Newcastle United here, but to Leicester's benefit because it really keeps them in the race in terms of trying to stay in the Premier League. So yeah, the first photo here, like I mentioned, this is the Bruno Guimaraes one where it's inexplicable. He was right next to the goal. He headed it and it just hit the post, and it was unbelievable that it didn't go in. Um, and then Isak here, a guy that it looked like he got injured actually in this game. He has a very slight build. He has like a KD type of build, Kevin Durant type of build, and it looks like he has like kind of skinny legs. It looks like he can get injured pretty easily. So this is him and Castagna in a battle here, and then Bruno Guimaraes with a theatrical kind of kick, and this is a really interesting photo because it has Trippier and Vardy in the background, with Vardy looks old. Man, Vardy looks old in this picture. And then you have Tielemans, Yuri Tielemans, looking like he's squatting, like he's about to take a dump. This is quite the photo here. Kudos to whoever took this photo. Dean Smith looking at his watch. This is symbolic of this game. Leicester wanted this one to end uh, with a with a draw very clearly. And then this is an interesting one. This is a woman with her nails painted in a Newcastle emblem. Wow, that's very interesting. And we got I believe that's James Maddison, Harvey Barnes before the match with one other player on Leicester looking at the crowd. And you got Trippier arriving in with his man bag, his European, his his purse, his man purse. It's not a man purse, it's European. Shout out Seinfeld. And that's the tale of this game. That's the tale of this game, y'all. And so we're going to finish with the three best or most relevant games of the week here. Which first is Liverpool and Aston Villa drawing 1-1. I know people don't like when other people talk about their fantasy league, but I'm going to say it again. I'm in a tight battle in both of my fantasy leagues. I'm sure it's relevant to you guys too. You guys are playing as well. I have Ollie Watkins on both of my teams, and this guy missing that penalty was just terrible, awful. Not even on goal. Didn't even make the goalie work for it at all. Just kicked it to the right side and just missed it. And Watkins he's better than that. He had a stretch of the season late, mid to late part of the season where he was like amazing, scored like in 6 or 7 straight games. But really disappointed in this one, missing that penalty. But of course, Jacob Ramsey did score shortly thereafter with a Douglas Luiz assist to put them up 1-0. And then Liverpool was fighting all game, but it wasn't until Robert Firmino in the 89th minute in a storybook ending here for him at Anfield in his last game at Anfield from a Mohamed Salah assist from the outside of his foot, a thing that he does absolutely beautifully. And then Firmino, I mean, you got to see this goal. He's kind of like jumping in the air as he's kicking the ball, and it kind of looks like one of those Mortal Kombat kind of kicks, you know. And he's obviously the man of this match, Bobby Firmino. Si senor. I can't play that here, but look up the Liverpool song for Bobby Firmino, Roberto Firmino. It's great. I love how Liverpool makes songs for a lot of their players, and you're gonna see in some of the pictures I looked at them previously. They honored some of the. I think there's gonna be 4 guys in Liverpool that this is their last game with them, and they honored them with plaques. But in this one, look at the lineup for Liverpool: Konate, Trent, Fabinho all got yellows, and then for Aston Villa, um, Emi Martinez got a yellow. Konsa, Mings, Luca Dean, who's starting for Moreno for whatever reason, and Ashley Young all got yellows as well. But I got to give a lot of credit to Aston Villa and their defense, even though I just doubted it. Holding Liverpool to just one last miraculous goal was very well done. But when you look at the statistics here, this was Liverpool's game: 66% possession, 5 shots on target to Aston Villa's 3, 10 shots total to Aston Villa's 6, and they dominated the touches as well. Over 700 touches to Aston Villa's 493, and then many more passes, doubled them up in passes. And then on defense, again, this is going to tell the story: 29 tackles for Villa to 18 for Liverpool, and then 38 clearances for Villa to Liverpool's 20. 9 corners for Liverpool, um, and yeah, that tells the story in the statistics. I mean, you look at the statistics, you see who dominated this game, and it was very much so Liverpool. So um, as we look at some of the, let's see, what is this here? Recent meetings. We don't need that. Let's go back to the pictures here. I think this is called a guard of honor. Liverpool did a guard of honor for Roberto Firmino, and he's looks very emotional in this picture. You see many of the top players in the on the side here: Salah and Trent and Harvey Elliott. And yeah, these are the 4 players. There are plaques with all the memories of pictures of the memories from the great time that they had as Premier League champions and Champions League champions, and I think FA Cup champions as well. I think I mean, over the past 5 years, Liverpool has won it all. So in this picture, there's Bobby Firmino, James Milner, who looks like he's done at the club as well. He was the longest tenured player on this club. Naby Keita, and Oxlade-Chamberlain. So all 4 of them, they gave them big plaques with multiple. It looks like there's maybe like 10 photos on each plaque. What a class organization, I have to say. Liverpool is. This was really cool of them to do. And then, and what the next photo here is Firmino and Mohamed Salah. And if you saw the highlights of this one, seeing them embrace after that goal, it just gave you memories of those years with Firmino, Salah, and Mane on that front line in their halcyon days, and their salad days, and their when they were dominating, 2-3 years ago. It was really nice to see. And of course, you got Matty Cash with the dramatics after having conceded the goal. And when when Bobby Firmino kind of like fell to the floor and then looked up. Um, that was a moment I'm sure he'll never forget in celebration. Um, and then there's a contested photo here with Gakpo and a Villa player, Mohamed Salah against Luka Dean. Gakpo again. I think Gakpo had a lot of chances. I mean, this is many photos of Gakpo with the chances that he had, couldn't convert. And Jacob Ramsey, a guy that is a real up and coming player for this team. Honestly, he has more energy than Watkins. To be honest with you, um, he's a very exciting player. I think he's a younger player. I think he's going to be great for this team. Uh, is Jacob Ramsey, and then there's the pain here that Austin Villa displays after giving up that last goal. Sucks for them. And then Gakpo again. This is all Gakpo. Um, and Jota and the Liverpool players kind of exiting the tunnel here to start. But that was the tale of this game. Roberto Firmino. Who knows where he goes to next? He might follow the path of Suarez, go back to South America. Maybe he goes to Saudi or the Middle East for a lot of money. Who knows what he's going to do here? But a tremendous career, Roberto Firmino, with Liverpool, and we'll see if this is the end of an era for Liverpool. They have kind of restacked. It doesn't look like they're going to quite make Champions League. It looks like they're more likely to make the Europa League, which was when you looked at the mid-season, probably a good thing. Um, uh, Kind of a happy surprise. So good for them. Now we'll move on to Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest defeating Arsenal. Arsenal, what the hell are you guys doing? What is going on? I guess they lost all motivation after they figured out they bottled it last week, and it was I Awoniyi. Awoniyi. I'll never know how to say that name. With the goal here for Nottingham Forest, he's the man of the match, obviously. As we look at the lineup here, I'm going to be upset, of course, with Arsenal's lineup. I have been all year, but for Nottingham Forest, Niakate, I think he's a Muslim guy. He got a yellow. Awoniyi with a yellow. Morgan Gibbs-White with a yellow. This is a very interesting front line that Nottingham Forest put out. Three forwards: Awoniyi, Gibbs-White, and Danilo. I'm not a fan usually of putting Gibbs-White as a striker. I like Danilo's aggression. Actually, I like Gibbs White and Danilo in midfield. I think they play perfectly in midfield, and then putting Awoni, Brennan Johnson, and not Ismail Yassar. What's the other guy that was on? I'm sure he's in this lineup here. Emmanuel Dennis. Those three as forwards, as strikers. I think that's their ideal lineup. But you know what? This lineup beat Arsenal, so who am I to say? So as we look at Arsenal's lineup here, Gabriel got a yellow. I've never heard of this guy before, Jacob Kiwior. Um, he was one of the defenders for some reason. Xhaka, not a fan of his. He started in this one. Odegaard, of course, he's great. Gabriel Jesus got a yellow, but Bukayo Saka and Jesus, I'm not a fan of either of them. I like Trossard a lot. He only played for 70 minutes. He was taken out, but you know, when you look on this bench, I mean, you know, if you listened to this before, who I am a fan of on this team, uh, Fabio Vieira, Reece Nelson, these guys that don't get enough time out there, and you know, they're gonna have to do some soul searching in this offseason um, to find their optimal lineup. Arteta, I'm telling you, Fabio Vieira and Reece Nelson, they got to play more. They just got to play more. Uh, the stats on this one. Well, Arsenal dominate. I mean, this is of all the games I've seen so far, this is pure Arsenal domination. 81% possession, three shots on target, 11 total shots, all more than Nottingham Forest. And wow, touches. 881 touches for Arsenal to 321 for Nottingham Forest, and it's 724 passes to Nottingham Forest's 161. Incredible, incredible. And of course, when there's an attack on one side, there is defense on the other side. So Nottingham Forest dominated those tackles and clearances statistics. 6 corners to Arsenal to Nottingham Forest 3. That's a little bit more balanced, and the fouls conceded and everything else is kind of more balanced. But the possession of this game was Arsenal, and they just couldn't finish. And I just said it. I just said it. Reece Nelson and Fabio Vieira, you got to give them more time, and you got to keep Trossard in that game longer too. But that doesn't matter now. And I think Martinelli, I think, was injured in this one, so he's also a guy that he's a tremendous player on this team. They missed him. They sorely missed him. But Arsenal is going to finish second. This is a team that should have won the Premier League this year. They were up for maybe 30 weeks, and then they gave up the lead. More than 30 weeks. Maybe 32, 33, 34 weeks, and they gave up the lead here. But they will win the Champions League next year, so that is solace for a lot of them, and they have a great lineup. Arteta just has to figure out the rotations. As we go to the match photos here, I think you have Iowini and Gibbs White celebrating there. I believe that's who that is. Maybe that's Danilo. Looks like Danilo too. And Steve Cooper, the manager of Nottingham Forest. This guy that universally just looks like what is he doing? Doesn't look like a manager at all. Just looks like he looks like he's kind of an interesting, unique looking guy. Let's put it like that. Um, I think there's Iowini, yeah, with Jesse Lingard in street clothes there celebrating. Mikel Arteta in agony, doubled over and covering his face, just can't believe what's going on. And Steve Cooper and his assistants, they're celebrating that goal. And at the end of the game, Nottingham Forest just absolutely jubilant, celebrating. I think that's Iowini with the keeper Hennessy, and Arteta still can't believe it. And Odegaard, the best player on this team in my estimation, uh, just in disbelief as well, as he should be, in multiple photos here. And here's a photo of Gibbs White, who has a couple tattoos on his thigh. That's interesting. Defending against Jesus, who also has a big tattoo on his lower thigh. Um, what probably came after this is Jesus writhing in pain on the ground, because that's what he does. Bukayo Saka, listen, I think he is a bit of an overrated player just because of the praise that he gets. I think he gets more praise than his due. I think he's a good player. I think he has a very strong shot, but I don't think his football IQ is all that great, and he doesn't perform in big moments, to be honest. Jesus here fighting for the ball as well. Odegaard against Niakate. Saka here trying to go 1-on-2. And Ramsdale. Ramsdale's another interesting guy. He's becoming like a hot and cold guy as well. He's going into the De Gea category for me, which in some ways can be good because De Gea has days where he's the best goalie in football and some days where he's the worst. And that's what kind of Ramsdale's moving into now for me a little bit. Again, we have Ben White here and Thomas Partey in disbelief. A lot of photos of Saka here, and then this great photo of Gibbs White and Jorginho, kind of looking back at a ball with both of their back legs. What an expression by Gibbs White here. And then Arteta, again in disbelief, and Morgan Gibbs White celebrating with Iwoni. Jubilant Forest fans. Jubilant, absolutely jubilant. Um, yeah, and that's the story of this one. Arsenal bottle it. Forest, tremendous, big win for them. Great day for them. And we're going to move on to the last game here. The most unbelievable game. Manchester City clinching the title. Congratulations, Manchester City. I think this is the 6th time they've won it in 7 years, or maybe the 7th time in 8 years. I can't keep count. But they benched all their players in this one. I'm going to talk again about FPL because this again screwed me. I spent a ton of money on Ilkay Gundogan and Ederson, and they didn't even play in this one because they had already clinched it before this game started because of the bottling of Arsenal. Rant over. Anyway, this was the B team of Manchester City. They okay, well, we'll get to that. But anyway, Julian Alvarez scored the goal with an assist from Cole Palmer in the 12th minute. That tells you really everything you need to know. Julian Alvarez was the player of the game here. Here's the starting lineup. That goalie, Stefan Ortega, a defender, Kyle Walker, Emerick Laporte, Akanji. They kind of rotate in and out. That's not so unbelievable. But the midfield, Calvin Phillips, Sergio Gomez, Phil Foden, and Rico Lewis starting. And then the forwards, Julian Alvarez, Riyad Mahrez, and Cole Palmer. So you're talking about a bench of Ederson, Ruben Diaz, John Stones, Ilkay Gundogan, Jake Grealish, Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and Erling Haaland. That's their bench. That's the best starting league. That's the best starting lineup in the league, all on a bench. And Chelsea, you know what? Y'all blew it. Y'all blew it. Y'all lost 1-0. Y'all couldn't score on this team, and you couldn't stop them from scoring. And Enzo Fernandez got a yellow, and Kai Havertz got a yellow as well. And all the best players were playing on Chelsea in this one. Of course, like I said, Enzo Fernandez, Raheem Sterling, Conor Gallagher, Kai Havertz, Chalobah, Silva. I mean, Silva is the guy that came out, Thiago Silva, and was very critical of this team, and then he comes and contributes to this travesty. Statistics of this game, just in a pathetic way. I mean, Manchester City also dominated possession, 64%. Chelsea had more shots on target, 6-2. Manchester City had 15 total shots to Chelsea's 13. The touches, more by Manchester City by 300, and more passes by maybe 400. No, 300 more passes. City had 300 more passes than Chelsea. And then on defense, Chelsea was on the defense most of this one. More tackles, more clearances, and Manchester City had more corners. I mean, this is extremely sad for Chelsea. I'm sorry, Chelsea fans. That angry, ranting Chelsea. If you haven't watched this video, I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna go check it out. I want to see how badly he was ranting during this one, because this is absolutely pathetic. As we move now to the photos, of course, Ilkay Gundogan, the captain of this team, raising the trophy here for Manchester City, and them just absolutely ecstatic in this one. Pep Guardiola with the trophy here as well, with the crown. Erling Haaland with a very smug look on his face with his first ever Premier League title here. And Pep celebrating with Erling Haaland, Pep celebrating with Jack Grealish, Pep celebrating with probably the manager or an owner, executive. Haaland with the trophy. I mean, this is all Haaland again. John Stones and who is that? Ruben Diaz maybe. This is all celebrations. These are all just City celebrating. I haven't seen much of Chelsea here. This is a lot of Erling Haaland. Ederson carrying the trophy here. A lot of Haaland, ton of Haaland, putting the trophy up on his head. Kyle Walker spraying him with champagne here, and Ilkay Gundogan, who purposely kissed that trophy many times and just smudged it all up. And this is all just celebrations, and there's no sign of Chelsea in this entire photo collage. So that's it. That's the story of Game Week 37, ladies and gentlemen, as we bring it back here to the main screen. That was it. What did y'all think of this? I want y'all to put in the comments what you thought of this game week. What you think of this format as well. What a game week, as we're moving now to, there's 2 more games that are coming up over the next 2 days to fill out some of the games that were missed before. But then we start the 38th game week with most everything decided, to be honest with you. But if you play FPL, like I said, especially on Fantrax, very exciting last week for playoffs or for to see who wins the league. So that'll do it for this week. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Please subscribe. This is a new format. This podcast is more, I feel, catered to the folks that are watching on YouTube. So if you're listening on a podcast platform, jump on YouTube, Football v Football Podcast. Subscribe on there as well. Like, share, comment, all the stuff that people tell you to do. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, please, if you got Spotify, it would be amazing if you followed us on Spotify, Football v Football Podcast. That helps us out the most. Now, whatever you listen on, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Amazon, iHeartRadio, whatever it is, very appreciative. And give us a good rating on there as well, and follow us on there as well, and provide any feedback. Give us a rating. Get in touch with us. Like I said, we're also on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us Football v Football Podcast. It should come up. So I want to thank you all again for listening to this podcast. It was great recapping and trying this new format out. And hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, have a fantastic day, football fans.